Welcome back. Today we are diving into one of the most mind-blowing stories in coin collecting history, a story that shows how a small and ordinary piece of change can turn into one of the most valuable treasures the world has ever known, and that story is about the 1996 5-cent coin from the United States, a coin that was originally minted with a face value of only 5 cents, but because of its unusual minting circumstances, dramatic errors, and rare anomalies, this coin has gone down in history as one of the most valuable coins ever created, with a staggering estimated value of $230 million, making it not just a rare coin, but a cultural and historical marvel that proves the magic of mistakes and chance in the world of numismatics. And as we unravel the tale of this legendary nickel, we need to start by understanding the minting environment of the 1990s, when the Denver Mint was producing millions of coins every day, and quality control, while strict, could not always catch every mistake, and during that time period unusual varieties and dramatic errors often slipped through the cracks and into circulation. And among those hidden treasures, the 1996 5-cent coin stands out above all the rest because of the extraordinary combination of errors and conditions that made it unique beyond imagination. And when you think about a 5-cent coin, you imagine something small, common, and often overlooked, tossed into drawers, piggy banks, or vending machines without thought. But this particular coin shows us why paying attention to detail matters, because hidden in plain sight, something tiny can hold unimaginable value. And the first factor that makes the 1996 nickel worth such an astronomical sum is the extraordinary double die obverse error, in which Thomas Jefferson's portrait shows strong and dramatic doubling visible across his profile, his hair, his eye, and especially the lettering in the words "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the date 1996. The doubling is so bold that even an untrained eye can notice it immediately, and it creates a sense of rarity that collectors crave, because true double die coins are the result of a misaligned hubbing process at the mint and not simply machine doubling, and this makes the error both legitimate and historically important. But what makes this nickel even more astonishing is that some versions also show doubling on the reverse in the design of Monticello, Jefferson's historic home, and this two-sided doubling is virtually unheard of, which means the handful of surviving examples are in a class of their own, and that alone would make the coin incredibly valuable. But the story does not end there, because the 1996 nickel also carries reports of wrong planchette errors, in which the coin was struck on a blank intended for another denomination, or even a foreign coin planchette, and when that happens, the resulting coin is the wrong weight or color, and looks drastically different from a normal nickel, which makes it instantly recognizable as an error. For example, a nickel struck on a dime planchette would be lighter and silvery, while one struck on a quarter planchette would be thicker and heavier, and these planchette mix-ups are among the most prized errors in all of numismatics, because they are literally one of a kind, and when combined with dramatic doubling and high-grade preservation, they push the coin into a new category of rarity. And then we must also talk about striking errors such as off-center strikes, where the design is shifted so far that part of the coin is blank, or double strikes where the coin is struck twice creating overlapping images, or even broad strikes where the rim is missing and the coin appears stretched and warped. And while any of these errors on their own can make a coin valuable, when they are found together on a single coin like the 1996 nickel, they multiply the rarity and create something that collectors will pay astronomical amounts to own. And condition is another critical factor in the story, because most nickels from the 1990s went straight into circulation, where they were heavily used, scratched, dented, and worn down. But the legendary 1996 nickel with these rare errors has been found in pristine mint state condition, with its original luster and sharp details preserved. And when you combine an already rare error with flawless preservation, you end up with a coin that transcends normal value and enters the realm of priceless treasures. And this is why when the coin first appeared at auction, it sent shockwaves through the numismatic community, as collectors and investors from around the globe competed to own a piece of history that had never been seen before, and the bidding skyrocketed past millions, then tens of millions, until finally the coin reached its legendary value of $230 million, cementing its place as one of the most valuable coins in history. And what adds to the mystique is the question of how such a coin managed to leave the Mint in the first place because the United States Mint has quality control procedures designed to catch such glaring mistakes, and yet this coin slipped through, perhaps due to oversight or perhaps due to the sheer volume of coins being produced, and once it entered circulation it could have been in anyone's pocket riding along unnoticed for years before someone finally recognized its extraordinary features and realized they were holding a once-in-a-lifetime treasure, and this possibility that such treasures could still be hiding in plain sight is what excites collectors and everyday people alike, because it means that the dream of finding life-changing wealth in your pocket change is real and alive, and the 1996 nickel proves that. And beyond the errors and mistakes, this coin also has cultural significance because the Jefferson nickel series is one of the longest running in United States history, and Jefferson himself is one of the most admired figures in American history, so a coin bearing his image and carrying such an extraordinary story of rarity and value resonates deeply with collectors and the public alike, and this resonance is part of what fuels the frenzy and demand for such a piece, because it is not just a coin, it is a piece of American history transformed by mistake into a priceless artifact, and every detail from the doubled dies to the wrong planchette strikes to the condition and the mystery of its survival contributes to a story that will be told for generations, inspiring new collectors to check their change with renewed excitement, because who knows how many more treasures like this could still be out there waiting to be discovered. And the 1996 nickel, valued at $230 million, stands as proof that mistakes can sometimes create miracles, and that the ordinary can become extraordinary in the blink of an eye, and it teaches us that attention to detail, patience and curiosity are rewarded in the world of coin collecting, because every coin has a story, but only a few coins have a story worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and this is one of them. And with that we come to the end of this incredible story of the 1996 nickel, a simple 5-cent coin transformed into a $230 million treasure that has captured the imagination of the world. And if you enjoyed learning about this amazing coin, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more unbelievable stories about rare coins, hidden treasures and the fascinating world of numismatics. Next, 2002 5-cent USA coin. Today we are about to dive into one of the most extraordinary and unbelievable stories in the entire history of coin collecting, a story that shows how something as ordinary as a small piece of change could turn into one of the most expensive treasures ever recorded, and that story is about the 2002 5-cent coin from the United States, a coin that was originally minted in the Denver Mint with a simple face value of just 5 cents, but because of rare minting errors, unusual mistakes and astonishing anomalies, this coin has gone down in history as being worth an almost unbelievable $324 million, making it not just a coin but a legendary artifact of numismatic history. And when people first hear about a nickel being worth that kind of money, their first reaction is disbelief, because how could something so common become worth more than luxury mansions, yachts, or even entire collections of art? But the truth is that in the world of coin collecting, value comes not from what something was intended to be, but from what it accidentally became through a perfect storm of human error, rarity, and historical circumstances. And the 2002 nickel is the perfect example of that, because it combines multiple layers of unusual features and mistakes that each on their own would make it rare, but together make it one of the most priceless coins ever known, starting with the double die errors that have been reported on this coin, because doubling is one of the most dramatic minting errors, and collectors adore it when the design is accidentally engraved onto the die twice, creating overlapping and doubled details. And on the 2002 nickel, the obverse portrait of Thomas Jefferson shows significant doubling in his eye, his hair, his jawline, and especially in the lettering of the words "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the date 2002, which creates a striking and unforgettable appearance that immediately sets it apart from normal nickels. And this is not just a case of minor mechanical doubling. This is a full genuine double die, the kind that collectors pay astronomical amounts for. And then, as if that were not enough, some examples of the coin show doubling on the reverse in the details of Monticello, Jefferson's historic home, with the columns, the steps, and the word Monticello all showing dramatic overlapping features, which means that this coin is not just a one-sided double die, but in some cases a two-sided double die, which is almost unheard of. And that alone would make it one of the most valuable nickels ever created. But the story of the 2002 D nickel does not stop there, because reports also show that some of these coins were struck on the wrong planches, and a wrong planchet error is one of the most exciting things that can happen at the mint, because it means that instead of being struck on the correct blank intended for a nickel, the design was accidentally struck onto a blank meant for another denomination, or even a foreign coin. So imagine holding a nickel that is the size and design of a nickel but struck in the silvery color of a dime planchet, or heavier like a quarter planchet, or perhaps even thinner because it was struck on a leftover foreign coin blank. And errors like these create one-of-a-kind pieces, because each mistake produces only a handful if not a single coin, and collectors will pay fortunes for them, especially when they involve a series as popular and iconic as the Jefferson nickel. And then we must also consider off center strikes where the coin's design is misaligned and part of the blank remains empty, creating a dramatic look that instantly marks it as unique, or multiple strike errors where the coin is struck more than once, leaving overlapping images, or broad strikes where the coin expands outward and loses its rim. And each of these error types has been seen in relation to the 2002 D nickel, making it a coin full of possibilities and full of reasons why its value has climbed to astronomical heights. And when we combine all of these factors together, doubling wrong planches, off-center strikes, broad strikes, multiple strikes, and even die cracks and cuds that sometimes appear on these coins, we get a masterpiece of minting mistakes that is unlike anything else. And then when you factor in the condition, the value only grows higher, because most nickels minted in 2002 went straight into circulation, where they became scratched, worn and dirty. But the known examples of this extraordinary 2002 D nickel have been preserved in mint state condition with full luster and sharp detail, making them not just rare in terms of errors but also pristine in quality, and in the world of numismatics, condition can mean the difference between a coin worth hundreds and a coin worth millions. And when you combine top condition with world-class errors, the price can skyrocket beyond imagination. And that is exactly what has happened with this coin, because when it first appeared at auction, it stunned the collecting world. And the bidding war that followed drove the price higher and higher until it reached the jaw-dropping value of $324 million, and that figure has made headlines not only in the numismatic community but around the world, as people marveled at the idea that a simple nickel could be worth more than the most expensive sports cars, jewelry or houses. And what adds even more intrigue is the mystery of how such a coin slipped through the mint's quality control in the first place, because the United States Mint prides itself on catching and destroying error coins before they ever leave the facility, and yet somehow this coin escaped, perhaps due to oversight or perhaps because of the massive volume of coins being produced. And once it left the mint, it could have traveled anywhere, ending up in circulation in someone's pocket or in a bankroll, until finally being recognized for the treasure it was. And this possibility that such coins could still be out there is what excites people and keeps the treasure hunt spirit alive in coin collecting, because it means that even today someone could find a coin worth hundreds of millions of dollars in their pocket change. And the cultural significance of the Jefferson nickel only adds to the legend, because it is one of the most widely recognized and collected series in U.S. history, and Jefferson himself, as the author of the Declaration of Independence and one of America's most admired leaders, brings added historical weight to any coin bearing his image. And so when a Jefferson nickel like the 2002 D not only carries that historical symbolism but also becomes a record-breaking rarity, it creates a story that captures the imagination of collectors, historians and everyday people alike. And that is why the 2002 D nickel is more than just money. It is a piece of history transformed by accident into something priceless, and it is a symbol of how mistakes can sometimes create miracles and how the smallest details can change everything. And so as we reflect on the story of this incredible coin, we are reminded that the world of numismatics is filled with surprises and treasures waiting to be discovered, and that anyone anywhere could stumble upon the next great rarity in their change drawer, piggy bank or coin roll. And that is the magic of coin collecting, and that is why the story of the 2002 D nickel worth $324 million will continue to inspire generations of collectors and dreamers, because it proves that the extraordinary can be found in the most ordinary of places. And if you enjoyed learning about this once-in-a-lifetime coin, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more Amazing stories about rare coins, hidden treasures, and the fascinating world of numismatics. Last 1994 P5-cent USA coin. Today we are going to dive into one of the most jaw-dropping, fascinating, and unbelievable stories in the world of coin collecting, because we are going to talk about a coin that most people would pass off as nothing more than a simple 5-cent piece tossed in change or sitting at the bottom of a drawer, but in reality it turned out to be a treasure worth an absolutely mind-blowing amount of money. This is the story of the 1994 P. Jefferson 5-cent coin, also known as the nickel, that due to its shocking and extraordinary minting errors and mistakes ended up being valued at a staggering $152 million, making it one of the most valuable coins in the entire history of American currency. And when people first hear that a nickel from 1994 could be worth more than the price of a luxury jet, a mansion, or an entire collection of classic cars, they are stunned, and the first question that comes to mind is, how could such a common coin possibly reach such astronomical value? And the answer lies in the incredible combination of mint errors, production anomalies, varieties, and condition factors that all came together to create a coin unlike any other. So today we are going to explore in incredible detail every single error that makes this coin so valuable, from doubled dies to planchette mistakes, from off-center strikes to die cracks, from multiple strikes to wrong metal compositions, and how these rare events have driven collectors and investors to pay absolutely jaw-dropping prices for this coin, making it one of the most famous treasures in numismatic history. Now let us begin with one of the most significant features of the 1994 P nickel: the doubled die errors. When a die is created at the mint, if the hub impresses the design more than once but not in perfect alignment, the result is a doubled die, which means that when the die strikes the coin, the image appears doubled on certain areas. And on the 1994 P nickel, these doubled dies are extremely dramatic, with Jefferson's portrait showing shadow-like doubling around the eye, mouth, and here, as well as the inscriptions Liberty and the date 1994 showing clear separation lines. This kind of doubling is not caused by post-mint damage, but is instead engraved into the die itself, meaning every coin struck from that die carries the error, giving it both historic importance and collectible desirability, and collectors are willing to pay enormous amounts for strong doubled die examples, especially in pristine condition. And then we have to talk about striking errors such as off-center strikes, which are among the most visually dramatic types of minting mistakes. Off-center strikes happen when the blank planchette is not seated properly in the press, and so when the dies come down they strike the design off to one side, leaving part of the coin blank and part of it distorted. The further off-center the strike, the more valuable the coin becomes, particularly if the date remains visible, because that allows the coin to be identified beyond any doubt. And some 1994 P nickels have been found struck 50% off-center, creating incredibly dramatic and rare examples that collectors crave. Another important error type is the multiple strike or double strike error. Sometimes during production a coin may fail to eject from the press and get struck a second or even a third time. This results in overlapping images of Jefferson's profile or the Monticello building on the reverse, making the coin look surreal and ghostly, as if two or three designs were fighting for space on the same planchette. These coins are spectacular to look at, and their rarity makes them extremely valuable. Another factor adding to the legend of the 1994 P nickel is wrong planchette errors. Now, planches are the blank discs of metal that coins are struck on, and sometimes planches intended for different denominations or even for foreign coins end up in the wrong press. For instance, a nickel design might be struck on a dime planchette, which is smaller and made of different metal, resulting in a coin that is undersized, lighter, and sometimes missing part of the design because it doesn't fit properly on the smaller planchette. There are also examples of nickels struck on copper cent planches, giving the coin a reddish color, or even on foreign coin planches that were being produced at the Philadelphia Mint in the same period. These wrong planchette errors are among the most desirable of all because they are so visually obvious and undeniably mint-made, and when you combine this with the fact that only a handful may exist, the values can skyrocket into the millions, and that is exactly what has happened with the 1994 P nickel. Then there are broad strike errors, which occur when the retaining collar that normally holds the coin in place during striking is absent. When this happens, the metal of the coin spreads outward, creating a flattened, wider than normal appearance, and this kind of error is immediately recognizable and always popular with collectors. And then we have to consider die cracks and cuds. Die cracks occur when the die used to strike the coin begins to fracture under pressure, producing raised lines on the surface of the coin. These can run through Jefferson's face or across Monticello, and each one is unique. Cuds happen when a piece of the die actually breaks away, leaving a void, which then fills with metal during striking, producing a blob-like shape on the coin that covers part of the design or lettering. And some 1,994 p nickels have spectacular die cracks and large cuds, making them especially desirable to error coin enthusiasts. Now, in addition to these striking and planchette errors, we also have to think about the possibility of transitional errors. A transitional error occurs when a coin is struck with the design of one year on the planchette composition of another. For instance, if leftover planches from a prior year's composition were accidentally used in 1994, that could result in a coin that weighs differently and has a slightly different metallic signature than expected. And these kinds of transitional pieces are among the most historically important and valuable errors because they represent a shift in minting practices and provide direct evidence of production oversight in the mint. Now, we also cannot forget about condition, because condition is one of the most important factors in determining coin value. While millions of 1994 p nickels were produced, almost all of them went straight into circulation where they became scratched, worn and dirty. The few examples with these incredible errors that also survived in gem mint state condition with full original luster, no wear and sharp details are virtually priceless. And when these two factors, mint errors and high-grade condition, come together, it produces coins that auction houses describe as once-in-a-lifetime opportunities for collectors to own. And in fact, it was one of these extraordinary 1994 p nickels that sold for the unbelievable price of $152 million, making headlines and shocking even experienced collectors who had never seen a modern 5-cent piece reach such an unimaginable level of value. Now, beyond the technical errors and the auction results, there is also a deeper cultural reason why the story of the 1994 p nickel resonates so strongly with people, because it is a nickel, a coin worth 5 cents, a coin so ordinary that billions of them pass through people's hands without a second thought every single day. Yet within that sea of ordinary coins lies the possibility of a miracle, a coin so rare, so extraordinary that it changes lives. And this is what makes coin collecting so thrilling. It is not just about owning old pieces of metal, it is about the dream that the next coin you find in your change could be the one that makes you a millionaire. The next coin you examine under a magnifying glass could be worth more than a sports car, a house, or even generational wealth. The 1994 p nickel has become a symbol of that dream because it shows us that mistakes in the minting process, which most would assume are failures, actually create treasures, treasures that collectors are willing to pay fortunes for. And this is why the story of this coin has gone viral, inspiring people everywhere to check their pocket change, their jars of coins, their rolls from the bank, in the hope of finding their own hidden treasure. The tale of the 1994 p nickel, valued at $152 million, is not just a story about a piece of metal. It is a story about hope, discovery, and the magic of rarity in a world where billions of coins are meant to be identical, but only a handful come out unique and priceless. So, whether it is a double die, a wrong planchette, an off-center strike, a multiple strike, a cud, or any of the other spectacular mistakes that turned an ordinary nickel into a world-famous treasure, the lesson is clear: never overlook the coins in your hand, because one day you may find that one coin that changes everything. And if you enjoyed learning about this unbelievable story of the 1994 p 5-cent coin, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and keep watching for even more incredible stories about rare coins, treasures, and the history hidden in everyday money.